Hi, good evening. I'm Steve Lentini, and I've been doing sales training and consulting and coaching salespeople for over 40 years, all different kinds of companies, all different kinds of walks of life, distribution companies, service companies, today primarily high-tech and healthcare companies, people selling to the healthcare market, and primarily equipment, healthcare equipment and consulting. And so I've been doing this 40 years. I love doing it. I have a lot of people that have helped succeed and who are regularly coached by me. They're my clients, companies and individuals. And again, today I'm heavily involved with high-tech companies, people that it seems to me that those markets seem to crave training and learning and growing. And a lot of the mature industries are not training, either for a lack of education or knowledge about training and the effectiveness of it, or they think they know it all, which is really fascinating to me because I'm still growing and learning, and I don't think that ever ends. And for successful people, I don't think that ever ends. So I'd like to cover today. There's different buyers when you're in a complex sale, and there's going to be a lot of decision makers. You want to learn to master that process. And I have a couple stories about where people were not aware of the different personalities, and I'll share those stories with you. And of course, they didn't work, and we were able to salvage the sale and help them. But it's fascinating to me that they hadn't bothered to even study the client before they got there, and they thought that it was their job was to present and talk, and that's really not the job of salespeople today. The job of salespeople is to listen, and then to understand the different personality types involved in the sale, or the one personality type involved in the sale, and then match and mirror that person, which is a sign of respect, to put yourself in their shoes, and then work together at some point for the sale. The Challenger sale, I don't care what you study, Mastering the Complex Sale, the Challenger sale, Miller Heiman, all the complex selling systems are really talking about understanding the client. So the Challenger sale wants you to learn that place where you can, that moment that comes that you need to challenge the client. If they're, say they've made a decision and you discover it, to go with their existing supplier, they're going to stay the same, they're not going to change. And you challenge it at that moment. It's a big difference. It's an opening moment when you're willing to walk away, and people recognize that you're willing to walk away because what the customer, what the customer's thinking of doing is detrimental to their business, their bottom line, and you're willing to challenge that thinking. I think it's great. Those moments are great. I've had many of those moments in my 40 years of selling. Yeah, 40 years. I was the licensee of the Sandler Sales Institute for 6 years, 5.5 years. I'm also a published author, and I've done keynote addresses and spoken in front of thousands of people. And so I'm an inspirational speaker, and I help people break through where they see the horizon is flat. All right, so let's get right into today's topics. There's a lot of different buyers and personalities that come in a multiple buyer sale, a large sale. Hundreds of thousands of dollars, or impacting. A large sale can be impacting a large part of the process of the company. So whatever you'll sell them will impact users, let's say, company-wide, when it might be hundreds of people. So now you want to understand who are all the buyers at the table. Well, there's the economic buyer who holds the most authority. So the economic buyer is going to factor in all the decisions, is going to listen to all the other buyers at the table, and then will make the final decision based on the budget, based on what they think is the strategic direction of the company, based on what they think will benefit all the users or the people who will be will use that product or be affected by that product long after you're gone and maybe long after he's gone. So he's thinking strategically about the company. Then there's the user buyers. So the user buyers are the ones using the product. If it's software, then they're the ones using the product every day. If it's hardware or if it's a change of process, then they're going to be affected by it every day because, excuse me, I'm sorry, because they're the buyer, the user buyer. Then there's the technical buyer. And so the technical buyer might be complex HVAC systems, or it might be building systems, security systems, login systems, touchpads, and they're going to want to hear all the details. They're going to want to hear all the details about what it is that you're selling them because they're the technical buyer. Then there's the gatekeeper buyer or the coach buyer. And the gatekeeper buyer is there to keep people out. You know, they like the existing system. They don't really want to deal with change. Change is of concern to them. It's also of concern to the economic buyer, but it's different for the economic gatekeeper buyer. The gatekeeper buyer is going to want to keep you out. And they want to keep you out. They don't want change. They may have experienced change before that went bad. They might even suggested the change the last time and it went bad. So they took it personal. And they're afraid of doing this all again. Then there's the partner buyer. So there's a fifth buyer that, excuse me, wow, long day coaching people. So there's the partner buyer who's literally involved because they're a partner. They might be a partner in the process. They might be a partner, an actual partner. What are the influences of each of these people, and what is it that they're looking for, and how you can help it? Understand that your solution is good, that it's perfect for what they're looking for. So now it's important to be willing to take a place in each of their shoes. And the other thing to do is when you're structuring meetings is make sure the technical buyer is not going to be there when the economic buyer is going to be there. The technical buyer wants to get into detail and they want to hear you talk, and they want to hear all kinds of things about the program. So the economic buyer who holds the most authority, they're sitting way up here. If you bring the technical buyer in, they're going to talk so much the economic buyer is going to be maybe nodding off or yawning like I am tonight. So let me give you a story. Lab Systems, which was part of Thermo Electron, Thermo Systems, was a laboratory information management software system. They may still be around today. And so they asked me to fly out to their software engineers making presentations at two different medical testing companies. One was MedImmune, one was Medichem. And the guys were rehearsing the night before, and I watched them, and it did occur to me that they were planning on doing a lot of talking. And when I asked them about who was going to be at the meeting, had they screened them, did they know who wanted what, they all assured me that it was true, that they knew. So I get to the meeting, and they are going through all the users' features. So they were going through the users' features. The economic buyer was a PhD, actually, I think in fact, two of them, and they were really at this very high level. They were, I think, partners in the company. And so it goes back to maybe 2001 or 2002. So as they were presenting, they were really enthusiastic about their product, and they were answering all the questions of the users, and the users were enthusiastic, had a lot of questions, and they were showing them things about the using features. And I noticed that the PhDs were like this. Both of them were on. You know, their eyes were heavy, and they kept nodding off. So at one point, I said, "Hey, time out, guys, time out." And they, by the way, I had been told not to, just to observe, and then we'd come back and fix it. But I thought they were going to lose the sale. And I said to the two doctors, "Docs, are you interested in this?" Excuse me. Make me tired telling the story. They were so tired. They were nodding off. They were so glad I saved them. "No, Steve, we're not interested in this." "Okay. What would you like to see?" And they said, "We'd like to see this and this." And I said to the software engineers, "When are you going to do that?" And they said, 11:15. "Docs, can you come back at 11:15? "Yes." "Okay, great. You go ahead." They ran out of that room. They were so glad that I did that. Then they came back in later, heard what they wanted to hear. And in fact, later on when we were talking about where were they on a scale of 1 to 10, is if they were going to make a decision was 8, move to the next step, not close. And 3 was, you know, they were really not interested in the solution of lab systems. And they said, no, we like it. We like it. We're interested. Okay. They were an 8. And I think that had a lot to do with being in their shoes. They didn't want. So if you're in their shoes, you'd realize they didn't want to be there for the whole presentation. And that would have been discovered ahead of time. They didn't want to be there for the whole presentation, right? So you find that out. When do you want to be there? What are you looking to see? I'll invite you in. We'll make a schedule. Do you want to be there when the users are there? Do you want to be there when the technical people are there? The data people? No, they didn't want to be there. So then we went to the next company 2 days later to make a presentation, and the guys did basically the same thing. They were just doing way too much work. They were really proud of their software. I get that. That's a good thing. But again, they didn't understand what people were looking for and what might scare some and not scare others. So the technical buyers were there and the PhDs. The technical buyers wanted to know how easy would it be to fix something if this happened in the system or that happened. And the reason is their current software, they would wait days and days and days for fixes. So these were data people, technical people that wanted to know if there was some little things they could do, if they could learn that to fix it, to keep everybody moving and productive. Then that was a good thing to address. Except what they did was they went and said, "Oh, let me show you how easy it is." And I could see the doctors were like looking at each other. They were whispering. They leaned over. Oh boy. I said, "Doc, so they're concerned here?" "Yeah, we don't like how easy it is to break into code. We don't want everybody changing the program." I said to the engineers, "Is that really true what you just did?" "No, we have this kind of access, and we can only make it available to these two data guys or who you want. It is not accessible to everyone that way." "Docs, you okay with that?" "Yes, we understand now. We're fine." But the two software engineers were oblivious to the two doctors. Their body language changed. They started talking to each other, and they had no idea that it was tied to that moment where they went in and quickly changed with a few keystrokes. They were showing the technical data people that they could get in to make a few fixes. They didn't have access to all the software, but they were showing them how to make a few fixes. That's good for the technical guys, but the big economic buyers should not have been there for that part at all. So you don't bring them in. So you don't mix user buyers with economic buyers. You can mix user buyers with technical buyers. You don't mix the gatekeeper with the economic buyer. So you have to understand when to bring in the economic buyer, when to bring in the partner buyer. It can all be done the same day, but you have an agenda with a time. And then you watch their body language and you watch to see if they lean over and talk to each other, if it's during something you're showing, because chances are you've made someone uncomfortable. And when you're aware of that, you say, okay, Bob, is it something that I did that made you uncomfortable? Or, it's just something that you're noting about the software that you like, because you see them going like this. You learn a lot when you're aware. The other way to be aware is to breathe and to come back down into your body. Breathe and to come back down into your body. So let's say the gatekeeper's there, and the technical buyer and the user buyer, and the gatekeeper starts getting uncomfortable. You'd say to the gatekeeper, talk to me about what might be making you uncomfortable, Mary or Sam. And it's amazing that when you're grounded and you're not afraid of losing the sale. So you can't lose what you don't have. And if you're looking for a renewal, then you should have known all this information up front. Somebody should be checking in with your customers 3, 4, 5 times a year about how's it going, what's not working, what do we need to do better, how can we fix it in your mind, all of those things that help people feel comfortable about your product. But if it's a new customer, you can't lose what you don't have, so you want to stay right in there, calling people on when they're moving, they're shifting, they're folding their arms like this, they're looking away. It's important to be aware, and to be aware, you breathe and you come back into your body and you feel your body, and then you're detached from outcomes. So it's important to detach from outcomes, because your job is to control you, not them. The customer is going to make their decision based on whether your product works and makes them comfortable, and whether they trust and like you. So to help them trust and like you, you're grounded, you breathe, you're in your body, and you're noticing body language, and you're really real, you're truthful. You have real adult conversations. You're not afraid to ask the question when you see them shift in their body, because you know it's going to bring the truth out, and it'll be refreshing, even if you don't get the business. You're better off knowing now if you're not going to get the business. So you bring the users, the technical buyers, the coach, and the gatekeeper together early on. Then when you get a consensus, you bring in the economic buyer and the partner buyer, or the coach buyer, the partner buyer, and the economic buyer at the end, the last part of it, so that they can say, okay, everyone, let's tell Joe and Sally and Sue what you've seen and how you feel. And then let the economic buyer and the partner buyer, okay, so what questions do you have now? And you can dismiss the technical buyer. Okay, Larry, Jack, Mary, we're set. Thank you very much. Now you have a discussion with the decision makers about what's important. Everybody's on board. They like it. They heard why. And it's very important to discover before you have that meeting who holds the greatest influence. Very important. Your gatekeeper might be able to tell you that. Your user buyers, I'm not sure if they'll tell you that. Technical buyer will know, because they've had discussions with the economic buyer and the partner buyers beforehand, and or the coach buyer. The coach buyer could be available at every level, because typically they're a fan. So everybody looks at them when they say, okay, so what do you think of this? I mean, we didn't have this, and he'll say, we didn't have this in our last system. It's important, I think, that we have it. So when you break it down and include the people that are most important at the most important time, you're going to find a real big difference. And when you get to the end and you have your economic buyer and your partner buyers, you can challenge them a little bit if they're not willing to go along. You just heard 12 people say they like it. They think it's going to work. Can we talk again about why? Can we go back over some of the notes? Would you like to get Bob to come back in the room? You can always say, as people are heading out, hey, stay close by. We might need you. That's a stroke. They'd like that. Most cases, they would like it. So if you understand the point which to challenge the economic buyer, the partner buyer, you're going to have a great success, right? The challenger sale. If you understand when to introduce the idea that, hey, this software, everybody agrees, is going to improve productivity. Won't that improve the bottom line? So what if you don't make the change? You mean you'd rather pass by that improvement? They said the return on investment is going to be 3 years or less. And the improvements in productivity come right away, and that's why you get that 3-year ROI. What was the ROI on your last software change? So these are all questions that you have to prepare and have for these large sales. I've done $1 million sales where they were bringing in 9 or 10 of their existing partners and said to me, Steve, we can't buy from you. You're not one of our existing partners. How could we ever explain to everyone we went to someone that we have no experience with? And I said, you know what? That makes perfect sense. I said, are you bringing these 10 people in to meet with them? Yeah. All right. If none of them suggest a solution to this and this, call me up. I'll help. I mean, and then in one of these situations, one of the guys said to me, well, why don't you just give us that now? I said, aren't you bringing all 10 in? You just told me you were. Yeah, we are. All right. One of them will have it, I think, or two. If not, call me. I mean, they weren't buying for me. They weren't going to buy for me. And it seemed totally logical that they wouldn't consider me. They had never done business with me, and they had 10 different partners selling them a piece of what I could do throughout their system. It was a big company, and so they had a lot of different components, a lot of different people that provided what I provided, and they were going to make it one company wide. Okay. 3 weeks later, this person called me, and I gave him a solution and asked, can I be put on the list now? Yeah, you can. I won the business a month later, and it was $750,000 to $1 million, $750,000 to $1 million. 6 months later, I had the same thing, similar, not quite as quick, but the same thing happened in a large university where they had 16, 17 people doing the same thing I was doing. They were going to go to one. They said the same thing when I walked in the door. Hey, we can't buy from you. I said, okay, that's okay. Tell me why. And they told me. I said, all right, that makes sense. Then ask me a question. I said, I'm curious, why am I here? Oh, we wanted to get to know about your company. Okay, but you can't buy from us. Right, we can't. We're sorry. Okay, so then you're not going to buy from us. What are you looking for? She spent 45 minutes telling me exactly what she was looking for. And I said, you know, it sounds like you need a partner. A partner? What's that? What's your idea about that? I said, aren't you bringing in all these 16 people? Yeah, when? Oh, over the next month, month and a half. Okay, if you don't hear it, call me. I totally let it go. Totally let it go. 6 weeks later, I get a phone call. Steve. Yes. I couldn't believe it. Could you come in and talk about your partner thing? Yeah. I said, you mean all 16 people came in and didn't talk to you about a partnership? No. Wow. Okay. Interesting. I said, what did they talk about? She said, well, they all talked about themselves, how great they were, and what they could do differently, and how they wanted to sell us everything. And they had great ideas about all the stuff we were using, but they never listened to her. And I listened. And the sale came about. It was over $1 million. And when I went in, she said, what's your thoughts about partnership? I said, well, you're struggling to survive, and we sell all the people that you're going to compete against. We'll just treat you the same way, like we treat them. Cost plus. There's different costs for different product lines, and we'll tell you what they are. And then we'll train you and tell you how people use it, just like your competitors that are trying to get you thrown out of here. We're going to help you. We'll be your ally. Now, if there was a longer process, it was a 6-month process, but and it was a teamwork. But we closed the deal. We got narrowed down. Listen, we wouldn't have even been included if I wasn't willing to offer them help, and in that situation, walk away. Because someone might have had the idea that I had, and then we wouldn't have had the sale, right? Okay, it wouldn't have been meant to be, but I was blessed. I write about it in my books because it's still amazing to me. Recently, I had a sale last year that turned into $1.4 million for a consulting client, and the consulting client didn't like the salesperson, but that salesperson was smart enough to bring me along, and in the end, I had to help close a few meetings, make them shorter because I noticed that the salesperson was talking way too much. And I knew the guy that was the decision maker, the economic buyer, didn't like him. I knew it. I could tell by the body language. And so as I continued to control the sale, so I took over, eventually became the captain of the sale. Eventually, the buyer called me like 6 weeks later and said, "Hey, Steve, I got something uncomfortable to tell you." "What's that?" He said, "How do I do it?" I said, "Just say it." He said, "We'd love to give you guys the business, but I don't like the salesperson. I want to give the business to you." I said, "That's fine. I'll be the lead point contact as long as you understand this person gets the commission." And he said, yes. The first month's billing was $80,000. A year after, it was $1.44 million in total. Amazing sale. Amazing sale. And a large company lost it. A large company lost it because they weren't paying attention. They had kids coming in to make the sale. They had a lot of different salespeople. They were selling them junk. They were selling them whatever it is that made them commission, right? They didn't care about the company. They were selling them whatever made their bonus. These are all things you don't do. Don't have commission breath. That's what I call it. So anyway, there's different components and different decision makers in a large sale. Understand it and understand who to have there when. And you control that. You say, hey, listen, Mary and Jane represent the users, correct? Yes. Joe represents the technical side. Yes. The gatekeeper is Mary. She was here during the last change. Yes. By the way, don't use those terms. Just say, hey, so the data guys are coming, that's Bob and Mary. The users are represented by, so whatever they call them, that's what you call them. Then you set the agenda, and then you review your product with the people at the level that they're at, not bringing in the economic buyer and the decision maker and the partners to see everything and have them going like this. No. Understand that and be empathetic, get into their shoes, right? Figure out what it would be like, feel what it would feel like to be the economic buyer, and have a feeling and empathy for all their pressures. And they probably have a board of directors, or they have a president. Everyone has someone above them. And when you can understand how your solution fits for their level, it's amazing how much more productive you'll become and how many more sales you'll close. It's amazing. Get it, make it work. And then by being willing to detach yourself from the sale, it's just a glass, okay? I know it says the Yankees. I'm sentimental about the glass. I've had it for years. And I do like the Yankees. But I like the Mets. I like the Red Sox. I like the Kansas City Royals. I like the Dodgers. When it gets to playoffs, but I'm never really crazy about one sport or the other, or one team or the other, until the end. When it gets down to the final two. In the World Series, I pick a team. Better if it's the Yankees. And if not, if it was the Red Sox and the Mets, I'd probably go with the Red Sox. That's what I did. I remember doing that years ago. Okay, I digress. So who holds the greatest influence? That person comes in toward the end. The users And the technical people, they come in to see all the benefits and features that the users are interested in, and then you bring the economic buyer in. Who holds the greatest influence, comes in at the end. They listen to the users and what the users heard. They listen to the data people. They listen to those people. And then you say, hey, thanks, guys. Now we're going to, don't want to tie you guys up from your work. Thank you very much for your time today. And I'm going to spend the rest of the time with Joe and Sue. Okay, you're entitled to that. And then remember my stories about detaching from, listen to this, clients are calling already, detaching from outcome. All right, thank you very much. How you can reach me at this phone call. How can you reach me at this phone?
Please leave a message after the tone. Such Fruit calling with a brief survey about Vermont and its leaders.
Sorry about that. So how you can reach me? 917-805-1088, 917-805-1088. My office phone, 802-782-8335, 802-782-8335. That's the phone that just rang. Email is steve@stevelentini.com. That's steve@stevelentini.com. stevelentini.com. I'm working on a number of programs and books. The Millennial Mindset I'm working on. I'm working on QualityRatingService.com. I'm working on the complaint-free zone, and I'll let you know when they're ready. They'll have one-page websites that direct you. I'm working on Sales Success for the Rookie. That'll also have a one-page website. And Wake Up, Jump Into Your Life. So I have a lot going on, and I can help you in so many ways, sales and culture. And anyway, I'm glad and grateful to help people and companies become more productive and more productive in their communication and the way they communicate as teams and the way they communicate with clients and customers. Thank you so much for this time, and I'm grateful.